Now, the international community is closely watching the situation between India and Pakistan after Operation Sindoor. US President Donald Trump has expressed hope that clashes would end very quickly.
No, it's a shame. We just heard about it just as we were walking in the doors of the Oval. Just heard about it. I guess people knew something was going to happen based on a little bit of the past. They've been fighting for a long time. You know, they've been fighting for many, many decades and centuries, actually, if you really think about it. No, I just hope it ends very quickly.
U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said he is monitoring the situation and that Washington would continue to engage with both India and Pakistan towards a peaceful resolution. Rubio has also been briefed by India's National Security Advisor Ajit Doval following the targeted strikes in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Meanwhile, China expressed its regret over India's military action and urged New Delhi and Islamabad to show restraint.
China opposes all forms of terrorism. We call on both India and Pakistan to prioritize peace and stability, remain calm and restrained, and avoid actions that could further complicate the situation. We are willing to work together with the international community and continue to play a constructive role in easing the current tensions.
Israel's ambassador to India, Masood Azhar, voiced strong support for India's right to self-defense. The ambassador, in a post on X, said, and I quote him here, "Terrorists should know there's no place to hide from their heinous crimes against the innocent." French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot, in an interview on TF1 television, said, and I quote him here, "We understand India's desire to protect itself against the scourge of terrorism. But we obviously call on both the countries to exercise restraint, to avoid escalation, and of course to protect civilians." Germany has also called for restraint, emphasizing that further escalation must be prevented. The German Foreign Ministry stated that it is convening a crisis meeting and is in direct contact with both the sides. UAE Foreign Minister and Deputy Prime Minister Sheikh Abdullah bin Zayed Al Nahyan called on both India and Pakistan to exercise restraint, de-escalate tensions and avoid further escalation. Japan's Chief Cabinet Secretary Yoshimasa Hayashi expressed concern that the situation could escalate into full-scale military conflict. He urged both India and Pakistan to pursue dialogue and work towards stabilizing tensions. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres also expressed concern, calling for maximum military restraint from India and Pakistan. All right, for more on this, we are now being joined by Lisa Curtis, Director of the Indo-Pacific Security Program at the Center for New American Security. Welcome to WION, Ms. Curtis.
Thank you for having me.
Ms. Curtis, like you also must be tracking since morning, world leaders have reacted to Operation Sindoor with many backing India's right to self-defense. However, the Pakistan Prime Minister said that Pakistan reserves the right to respond. At this point of time, how perhaps can the global community or the world leaders convince Pakistan that diplomatic solution is best for them?
Well, I think, all world leaders are very concerned about the serious situation happening in India and Pakistan right now, and will be doing everything they can to try to de-escalate the situation and prevent an all-out war from breaking out. I think right now, as you rightly say, the efforts should be made to convince Pakistan not to take any further military action in response to India's military retaliation overnight. And here, I think the United States can play a unique role. Pakistan is interested in having good relations with the United States. And in fact, the U.S.-Pakistan relationship had started to show signs of improvement in the last couple of months when you had President Trump, for example, mentioning Pakistan and its cooperation in extraditing one of the perpetrators of the August 26, 2021 attack in Kabul that killed 13 U.S. Marines and hundreds of Afghans. So I think, one of the plays the U.S. has, one of the cards it can play with Pakistan to convince Pakistan not to take any further military action is to talk about, the possibilities for a U.S.-Pakistan, rapprochement, improvement in relations, and how damaging it would be to have this crisis further escalate. So that I think that is one of the options that the United States has. But I'm sure all countries will be trying to convince Pakistan to hold fire, to not respond or retaliate militarily. And also, I think that one has to ask the question, why are these U.S. designated terrorist groups, Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed, why are they able to still operate inside Pakistan? And I think that is one of the fundamental questions that once this immediate crisis subsides, that people will be asking.
Right, Ms. Curtis, you clearly outlined what steps the United States of America can take, because early in the day, the U.S. President Donald Trump clearly said that he hopes that the clashes between India and Pakistan would end very soon. And the point you made there, the fundamental question that you raised on how U.S. designated terror groups like Jaish-e-Mohammed still operating in Pakistan. Just a follow-up on that. How can the international organizations ensure that Pakistan takes actions against terror organization? And also, do you think that this operation which India carried out, Operation Sindoor, would be enough to deter Pakistan from not continuing its cross-border nefarious activities?
Well, of course, we don't need to see any more military action on either India or Pakistan's part. That, the situation is already extremely dangerous, and, both countries have nuclear weapons. So you never want to see two nuclear armed states getting into a conflict, a prolonged conflict. So absolutely, there should be no military action across the line of control by either country. And it's time to consider dialogue. It's time for back-channel talks to take place between India and Pakistan. We know this has happened in the past. We know both sides know how to engage in those back-channel talks. So now is the time to begin those and begin to defuse this very dangerous crisis. And I think you had asked about what can be done about these terrorist groups like Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed that have conducted attacks in India in the past, going back to the 2001-2002 crisis when it was Jaish-e-Mohammed and LET terrorists that attacked the Indian parliament, looking at 2008, the Mumbai attacks where Lashkar-e-Taiba was responsible for those heinous attacks. So, both of these groups have been operating far too long, and it's time for Pakistan to completely shut them down. And there are ways to put pressure on Pakistan on this front. One is the Financial Action Task Force, where Pakistan was gray-listed between the years of 2018 and 2022 because of its support for terrorist groups. And so it's entirely possible that action can be initiated in this international forum to put pressure on Pakistan. There are also ways to list individual terrorists at the United Nations, in the United Nations Security Council. This is what happened in 2019 when Jaish-e-Mohammed leader Masood Azhar was listed as international terrorist. The U.S. also has mechanisms. We have mechanisms to list under our Treasury Department certain individuals or organizations as terrorists. So there are many ways to put pressure on Pakistan for these groups that are on its territory. And I can imagine that these kinds of steps will be taken once we are out of the immediate crisis that we're in currently.
Right, Ms. Curtis, apart from the escalating tensions between India and Pakistan, you mentioned Masood Azhar. His 10 family members were also killed in the Indian strikes on the terror camps in POK and in Pakistan. How do you see that front opening up? Because Azhar has clearly vowed to take revenge against India for the death of his family members.
Well, Masood Azhar is a designated terrorist. He should not have the ability to do anything or even to be sending messages out on the airwaves. So I think that, there's always a risk, and India knew the risks of retaliating militarily, calculated it needed to do so, and that it was worth the risks. But certainly, there is continued risk for more attacks, more conflict, and more escalation. And that is why it's important for the two sides to start working together to de-escalate the situation. And the U.S. can help in this process.
Right. We're leaving it right there. Ms. Curtis, thank you so much for joining us here on WION and sharing your insights with us.
Thank you.